Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. Under the blazing red glow of Zephyr 9's twin suns, Caleb Turner trudged through the chaotic alien marketplace, his worn military boots kicking up clouds of golden dust with every heavy step. Each stride carried the weight of a past he couldn't outrun. His gray t-shirt clung to his muscular frame, sweat soaking through, outlining the hard-earned physique forged in the brutal training camps of Earth's Alliance fleet. Faded jeans hung low, secured by a scuffed brown leather belt where a plasma pistol, AP-7, rested, legal, but enough to draw wary glances from the shimmering, scaled, or tentacled creatures weaving through the crowd. Once a hotshot pilot, now a near-broke drifter, Caleb muttered through gritted teeth. "Who the hell takes this long to transfer credits?" He glanced at the wrist device blinking a measly 250 credits, mocking his patience on this far-flung trading hub. The market thrummed with chaos, the screech of mini-jet engines, vendors hawking wares in a dozen alien tongues, and the strange, pungent aromas of extraterrestrial cuisine. A scaled creature, its skin glinting like pearls, brushed past, leaving a chill on his arm. Another, with writhing tentacles, slithered by, its compound eyes flickering with curiosity. Humans were a rarity here, a species both feared and enigmatic in galactic taxonomy. Caleb didn't care. He'd grown used to the stares during his days piloting warships through contested space, where one wrong move could reduce a squad to cosmic ash. He paused at a stall selling ship components, his eyes scanning gleaming metal fragments and pulsing energy cores. "Need anything, Predator?" A high-pitched voice chirped from behind the counter. The vendor, a squat creature with 3 arms and slimy skin, flashed a toothy grin. Caleb shrugged. "Just looking. Credits are tight." The vendor scoffed, waving him off, and Caleb moved on, his hand brushing the P7. Not that he wanted trouble, but on Zephyr 9, readiness was survival. A flickering digital sign, half buried in synthetic foliage, caught his eye. In an age of virtual everything, a physical ad was as rare as a star at noon. Caleb approached, dust crunching underfoot. His wrist translator beeped, converting the alien script to English. "Roommate wanted, 150 credits/month, non-predatory species preferred, no noise, contact Syla." Caleb smirked, a half-cocked grin laced with self-mockery. Non-predatory? Humans were apex predators by galactic standards, their history of war and conquest enough to make any species wary. But 150 credits? That was a steal for a man with a dwindling account and a future as murky as a nebula. He memorized the address, tapping his wrist device to pull up a map. The residential district lay at the market's western edge, where red dirt paths snaked toward bizarre structures. Caleb set off, the twin suns casting long shadows, painting him as a lone wanderer. Houses came into view, spherical, hovering on humming energy pillars, glowing like massive jewels suspended in midair. Some shimmered blue, others blazed purple or gold. Klyvar Tech, Caleb figured, recalling fleeting academy lessons on alien civilizations. The address led to a smaller sphere, its soft blue glow soothing under the harsh sunlight. It hovered a few meters above ground, anchored by a faintly vibrating energy column. Caleb inhaled deeply, the air thick with dust and metal. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, climbing the glowing energy steps to the front door. The surface shimmered underfoot, cool as water. He knocked 3 times, the sound echoing in the stillness. The door stayed shut for a moment, then slid open with a soft hiss, revealing darkness within. Caleb squinted, his hand hovering near the P7, not out of fear, but from the instincts of a man who'd faced too many surprises in the vast, unforgiving cosmos. Caleb stood before the glowing sphere house, its blue light casting an ethereal sheen. He knocked 3 sharp raps, the sound cutting through Zephyr 9's dusty air. The door slid open, and he froze. An alien woman stood there, her emerald green skin shimmering, golden eyes wide with shock, jet black hair cascading like a midnight waterfall. She wore a form-fitting metallic suit, accentuating a lithe yet vibrant frame. "Human!" she gasped, her voice trembling, and slammed the door shut. Caleb blinked, caught off guard. Hey! He called through the metal. I'm here about the room. Your ad didn't ban humans, right? Silence. He shrugged, his hand grazing the P7 at his hip, not to threaten, but from the reflex of a pilot who'd dodged death in dogfights. Fine, he muttered, turning to leave, his boots crunching on the energy steps. But a sharp scream from a nearby alley stopped him cold. He spun around, eyes narrowing under the twin suns' red glare. Syla, had to be her, was cornered by 3 Klythians, their gray scales glinting. The leader, a hulking brute with a scarred jaw, growled, "Pay up, or we take something else." Syla stood tall, her golden eyes defiant despite a faint tremble in her hands. "I told you, I don't have it!" she snapped, her voice firm but laced with fear. Caleb strode forward, each step deliberate, his hand hovering near the P7. Adrenaline surged, sharp as the days he'd flown through enemy fire. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice calm but edged with steel. "We got a problem here?" The Klythians turned, their yellow eyes narrowing. The leader spat. "Human! Scram!" Caleb's lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He tilted his head, sizing them up 3 against 1, 2 with energy knives, the leader relying on bulk. Tough odds, but he'd faced worse. "See, that's where you're wrong," he said, his tone light but laced with menace. "She's my new landlord, so this is very much my business." Syla glanced at him, her golden eyes widening at his impromptu lie, but she didn't contradict him. He squared his shoulders, his broad frame a shield between Syla and the thugs, his hand inches from the P7. "An Alliance pilot's worth 5 Klythians," he continued, his voice steady. "Wanna test that?" The Klythians exchanged glances, their confidence wavering. Humans had a reputation, tenacious, unpredictable. The leader growled, but his eyes flickered with doubt. "Syla," he rumbled. "We'll be back." He signaled, and the trio slunk into the alley, their scaled forms vanishing into the shadows. Caleb turned to Syla. She was breathing hard, her golden eyes shimmering with relief and suspicion. "Why'd you help me?" she asked, her voice softer but sharp. Caleb shrugged, his half-smirk returning. "I hate bullies. And I need that room." Syla studied him, her eyes probing like she was reading his soul. Finally, she sighed, her emerald skin glinting under the suns. "Fine," she said, her tone firm. "But there are rules. And I don't trust you yet." She gestured for him to follow inside. The interior was fluid, with curving walls glowing like pearl, as if the house were alive. "Rule 1, Syla said, pointing at the P7. "No weapons in common areas." Caleb unholstered it, nodding. "Got it. Where do I stash it?" She pointed to a round door. "Your room that way." Rule 2, no animal-based food in the kitchen. "I'm a herbivore. Meat smells make me sick." Caleb raised an eyebrow. "I'm omnivorous, but I'll stick to the protein synthesizer." Syla led him through the living area, where furniture seemed sculpted from light. Rule 3, no romantic partners here, any species. She hesitated, her skin shimmering brighter, as if embarrassed. Caleb chuckled. "No risk there. Human women are rarer than daylight stars out here." Syla glanced at him, her golden eyes flickering with curiosity. His room was small but pristine, with a hovering bed that adjusted to his frame. "Klyvar tech?" he asked, impressed. Syla nodded, a hint of pride in her eyes. "My people excel at adaptation." She turned to leave, but Caleb called out. "Those Klythians, how much do they want?" Syla paused, her hands clasping tightly. 40 credits a month. The local police are bought off. Caleb did the math. "I'll pay 190 credits, and I'll handle them if they come back." Syla's eyes narrowed. "Why do that?" Caleb's smirk widened. "I hate bullies. And I want a stable place to crash." She stared, then nodded. "Deal. But no killing them. Too much trouble." She turned, her hair glinting, leaving Caleb with the sense that Zephyr 9 had just dealt him a dangerous hand, and he was all in. Syla led Caleb into the sphere house, its blue glow enveloping them like a living cocoon. Her jet-black hair shimmered as she moved, but her golden eyes studied him warily, as if he were a bomb waiting to detonate. The interior flowed organically, with curved walls glowing like pearl, pulsing faintly with energy. Caleb scanned the space, noting every detail, furniture sculpted from light, floors humming with power. Rule 1. Syla said, pointing at the P7 on his hip. No weapons in common areas. I don't care if it's legal. Caleb shrugged, unhooking the pistol with the swift precision of a seasoned pilot. Fair. Where do I keep it? Syla gestured to a round door on the right. Your room, over there. He nodded, gripping the P7, not from distrust but from the muscle memory of facing fire in the void. Syla guided him through the living area, her voice firm but tinged with a tremor. Rule 2. No animal food in the kitchen. I'm a herbivore. Meat smells make me nauseous. Caleb arched an eyebrow. I eat anything, but I'll use the protein synthesizer. You got one? Syla nodded, pointing to a glowing device in the corner. It can mimic Earth food. No real meat needed. They moved through a curved hallway, the walls flickering like a heartbeat. Rule 3. Syla said, her voice catching slightly. No romantic partners here. Any species? Her emerald skin shimmered brighter, as if flustered. Caleb's half-smirk returned. No worries. Human women are as rare as stars in daylight on Zephyr 9. Syla shot him a glance, her golden eyes flickering with curiosity, but she quickly turned away, hiding her reaction. His room was compact but spotless, with a hovering bed that adjusted to his frame as he entered. Caleb tested it, the surface yielding like water yet perfectly supportive. Klyvar tech? He asked, genuinely impressed. Syla nodded, a spark of pride in her eyes. My people adapt to any environment. This bed uses programmable matter, tailored to your body. Caleb nodded, mentally calculating. With 250 credits, this place was a steal, even if the landlord eyed him like a pirate. Syla started to leave, but Caleb called after her. Those Klythians, how much are they extorting? Syla hesitated, her hands clasping tightly. 40 credits a month, she admitted, her voice low. The local cops are in their pocket. Useless. Caleb's eyes narrowed as he crunched the numbers. Here's the deal. I pay 190 credits a month, and I handle them if they show up again. Syla stared, her golden eyes probing for his motives. Why help me? She asked, her voice softer but sharp. Caleb shrugged, his smirk returning. I hate bullies. And this place? It's growing on me. He gestured at the room, lightening the mood. Syla stood silent, her skin flickering as she weighed his words. Finally, she nodded, her tone firm again. Deal. But no killing them. Too much hassle. She turned, her hair glinting under the blue light, leaving Caleb with the sense he just stepped into a high-stakes game. 3 days passed quietly. Caleb spent his days roaming Zephyr 9's market, haggling for cheap components to fix his old comms device, a relic from his Alliance days. He ignored the curious stares of scaled and tentacled locals, his hand never far from the P7. Syla, he learned, worked remotely as an interplanetary data analyst, explaining her flawless English. I translate contracts for traders, she said one evening, as they sat in the glowing living room. English is common in this sector. Caleb nodded, impressed but keeping his questions to himself. She had secrets, so did he. On the 4th morning, the sound of shattering glass jolted Caleb awake. He sprang up, grabbing the P7 from under his pillow, clad only in sleep pants. A guttural Klythian voice rumbled from the living room, low and menacing. Syla, double the payment, or we get your human. Caleb cracked the door, peering out. Syla was pinned by a massive Klythian, 2 others brandishing glowing energy knives. He stepped out, pistol aimed at the leader's head. Let her go, he said, his voice cold as steel, or you're not walking out of here. The Klythians sneered, their jagged teeth glinting. Stupid human, the leader growled, tightening his grip on Syla. But before they could move, Syla raised a hand. A burst of green light erupted from her, like a miniature supernova, hurling all three thugs against the wall. They collapsed, unconscious, their knives clattering. Caleb lowered his gun, stunned. What the hell was that? Syla panted, her skin's glow fading, her body swaying. Photon energy, she said, her voice faint. Klyvars manipulate light. But it drains me. Caleb caught her as she stumbled, steadying her. You okay? Syla nodded, but her golden eyes met his, no longer wary but curious. Why protect me? She asked, her voice soft as the light around them. Caleb's half-smirk flickered. It's the right thing. And I'm starting to like this place. Syla smiled, her first, and it hit Caleb like a plasma bolt, making his heart race. Caleb, she said, her voice gentle. In my world, protecting someone forges a bond. He raised an eyebrow, a spark of heat running through him. What kind of bond? She stepped closer, her breath carrying an alien mint-like scent. The kind where I want to know you better. Caleb felt the air shift, knowing Zephyr 9 had just opened a door to something perilous, and he was ready to step through. 3 days of calm passed, but Caleb knew Zephyr 9 wasn't a place to let your guard down. By day, he roamed the market, his boots stirring golden dust, haggling for cheap parts to repair his old Alliance comms device, the last tether to his past. The scaled and tentacled locals eyed him, their gazes a mix of awe and suspicion, as if humans were both predator and myth. He ignored them, his hand never straying far from the P7, his eyes always scanning for trouble. Syla, he discovered, worked remotely, crunching interplanetary data. One evening, as they sat in the living room, its walls pulsing with blue light, she explained. I translate trade contracts, she said, her voice steady but guarded. English is the lingua franca out here. Caleb nodded, impressed. That gig pulls in decent credits, huh? Syla shrugged, her emerald skin shimmering. Enough to get by. She offered no more, and he didn't press. They both carried shadows, and Caleb respected the unspoken truce. On the fourth morning, a crash of glass shattered his sleep. Caleb bolted upright, snatching the P7 from under his pillow, clad only in sleep pants. A Klithian's guttural snarl echoed from the living room, heavy with menace. Syla, double the payment, or we get your human. Caleb eased the door open, peering through the slit. Syla was pinned by a towering Klithian, 2 others wielding energy knives that hummed with lethal light. He stepped out, pistol locked on the leader's skull. Let her go, he said, his voice ablade. Or you're not walking out of here. The Klithians laughed, their jagged teeth flashing. Foolish human. The leader snarled, tightening his grip on Syla. But before they could act, Syla raised a hand. A surge of green light exploded from her, a starburst that sent all 3 thugs crashing into the wall. They slumped, unconscious, their knives clattering. Caleb lowered his gun, jaw slack. What the hell was that? Syla gasped, her skin's glow dimming, her body trembling. Photon energy, she said, her voice faint. Klyvar's wield light. But it takes everything out of me. Caleb caught her as she swayed, his arms steadying her. You good? Syla nodded, her golden eyes meeting his, no longer guarded but searching. Why protect me? She asked, her voice soft as the glow around them. Caleb's half-smirk returned. It's right. And this place? It's growing on me. Syla smiled, her first, and it hit like a shockwave, stirring something deep in his chest. Caleb, she said, her voice like light itself. In my world, protecting someone forges a bond. He raised an eyebrow, a spark igniting in his gut. What kind of bond? Syla stepped closer, her breath carrying that strange mint-like scent, close enough for him to feel the warmth of her emerald skin. The kind where I want to know you better, she murmured, her golden eyes gleaming like stars. Caleb stood rooted, his heart pounding, but he kept his cool, flashing his half-smirk. Then we've got a lot to explore. They cleaned up the mess, dragging the unconscious Klithians to a nearby alley. Caleb checked them, ensuring they were alive, per Syla's request. They'll wake in a few hours, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. Syla nodded, her skin's glow returning. Thank you, she said, her voice earnest. But next time, don't charge out shirtless with a gun. Caleb laughed, a raw, genuine sound, his first since landing on Zephyr 9. Noted. But admit it, the styles got flair. Syla shook her head, but her smile lingered. They returned to the house, its blue light a reminder that Zephyr 9 never slept easy. Caleb stowed the P7 in his room, but he knew the Clithians would return, and they wouldn't come alone. He glanced at Syla, her hair glinting as she inspected the broken window. A bond, she'd called it. Whatever it was, Caleb felt it sparking, like a circuit coming alive, ready to ignite something bigger. Humanity might be outgunned in this galaxy, but Caleb Turner was no stranger to beating the odds, and he'd be damned if he let anyone hurt her. The fifth night on Zephyr 9 shattered Caleb's sleep with a faint clink, like metal kissing glass. He snapped awake, hand closing around the P7 under his pillow, eyes scanning the dim room. Clad only in sleep pants, he slid from the hovering bed, moving silent as a shadow across the sphere house glowing floor. The walls pulsed faintly blue, as if sensing danger. In the living room, he spotted a small device clamped to the window, its red light blinking like a predator's eye. Spy drone? He muttered, yanking it free with a pilot's precision. His heart kicked as he recognized the etched symbol, Earth's Alliance Fleet, the outfit that had branded him a traitor and cast him out for saving civilians. Syla! He called, voice low but urgent. She emerged from the hallway, her metallic sleepwear glinting, golden eyes wide with alarm. Her emerald skin shimmered faintly, her black hair tousled. What is it? She asked, staring at the device in his hand. Caleb's jaw tightened, fingers gripping the P7. My old bosses. They don't forgive guys like me, and they know you're hiding something. Syla's glow dimmed, like a flame starved of air, and she stepped back, clutching her chest. I'm not just a data analyst, she confessed, voice trembling. I was chief engineer on a secret Klyvar project, a photon weapon that could erase entire fleets. I fled when the Alliance found out. Caleb felt like he'd been gut-punched. You're a Galactic Most Wanted? Syla nodded, her eyes glistening but resolute. I thought I was safe here, she whispered. He opened his mouth to respond, but an explosion rocked the house. The front door blew inward, shrapnel spraying the living room. Black armored mercenaries, Alliance insignias gleaming, stormed in, plasma rifles flashing. Caleb Turner, surrender or die! One bellowed through a mask. Instinct took over. Caleb shoved Syla behind him, firing a stun blast from the P7, dropping the nearest merc. Run! He roared, dragging her toward the hallway. Syla stumbled, but her skin flared green, photon energy crackling like a waking star. They dove through an emergency exit, the door sliding open just as a plasma bolt tore through the wall. Zephyr 9's darkness swallowed them, the thud of mercenary boots echoing like a death knell. They sprinted through narrow alleys, the twin moons casting long shadows on red dirt. Caleb, his pilot's instincts sharp, wove through twists and turns, dodging plasma fire that scorched the air. They want you alive! He panted, gripping her hand. That weapon's worth billions. Syla, breathless, raised a hand, unleashing a blinding photon flare that stunned their pursuers. I won't let them take me, she said, her voice steel, her skin flickering like a dying ember. They ducked into an abandoned warehouse, the air thick with oil and rust. Caleb barricaded the door with crates, the P7 trained on the entrance. In the dark, Syla grabbed his hand, her warmth steadying his racing pulse. Caleb, she whispered, if they capture me, they'll force me to finish the weapon. Millions will die. He met her gaze, feeling a strange connection, like their minds brushed. They won't touch you, he said, voice iron. I swear it. A cold voice cut through the shadows. Touching, Turner. A man stepped forward, Alliance uniform crisp, silver hair glinting under moonlight, eyes like frozen daggers. Colonel Harlan, Caleb growled, aiming the P7. The man who'd ruined him labeled him a traitor for saving lives. "What do you want?" Harlan's smile was a blade. "Syla's the key to the Alliance ruling the galaxy. And you, traitor, led me right to her." Caleb's blood ran cold, realization hitting like a missile. Harlan had planted the drone, using him to track Syla. He tightened his grip, but Harlan raised a blinking device. "Surrender," he purred, "or I trigger the neural wave, and you both drop." Syla's hand squeezed Caleb's, her skin flaring, ready to fight. Humans might be outgunned, but Caleb's defiance burned hotter than any star. He'd be damned if he let Harlan win. Caleb and Syla tore through Zephyr-9's alleys, the twin moons bathing the red dirt in pale light. Mercenary boots pounded behind, plasma bolts sizzling past, each shot a scream in the night. Caleb's pilot instincts kicked in, guiding Syla through sharp turns, weaving past crates and debris. He gripped her hand, her emerald skin warm against his calloused palm, an anchor in the chaos. "They want you alive!" he gasped, eyes darting. "That weapon's their golden ticket." Syla, panting, raised a hand, her body igniting with green light. A photon flare erupted, blinding the mercs. Their shouts echoed as they stumbled, weapons firing wild. "I won't be their pawn," she said, voice fierce, but her glow flickered, exhaustion creeping in. Caleb pulled her into a dead-end alley, a rusted warehouse door ajar. They slipped inside, the stench of oil and metal choking the air. Caleb stacked crates against the door, the P7 steady, eyes locked on the entrance. "Sit, breathe," he said, voice low. Syla nodded, slumping against the wall, her breath shallow. In the dark, she took his hand, her warmth calming his hammering heart. "Caleb," she whispered, golden eyes glinting. "If they take me, they'll weaponize my work. Billions will pay." He met her gaze, a strange warmth in his mind, like her soul touched his. "They won't get you," he said, voice unyielding. "I promise." A voice sliced the darkness. "How noble, Turner." Harlan stepped from the shadows, silver hair gleaming, his Alliance uniform pristine. "You led me to her," he sneered, eyes cold. Caleb aimed the P7, rage boiling. "You set me up." Harlan's laugh was venom. "Syla's the key to galactic dominance. You just made my job easier." He raised a blinking device. "Surrender, or the neural wave drops you both." Syla's grip tightened, her skin flaring. "Caleb," she whispered, "I can pulse photon energy, but it'll drain me." He nodded, eyes narrow. "Buy me time." Caleb stepped forward, gun steady. "You want her weapon?" "Over my dead body." Harlan smirked, finger hovering over the device. "You always were stubborn, Turner. It's why you lost everything." But before he could act, Syla raised both hands. A dome of green light exploded from her, a starburst that paralyzed the mercs behind Harlan. He stumbled, the device clattering to the ground. Syla collapsed, her glow fading, breaths faint. Caleb lunged, kicking the device away, then scooped Syla up, bolting for the back exit. "You did it," he whispered, voice rough. A civilian ship loomed nearby, its hatch ajar. He carried her inside, locking the hatch as the engines hummed to life. In the dim cockpit, Syla stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Caleb," she rasped. "The photon pulse, it linked to you. I feel you." Caleb froze, a warm presence in his mind, like an invisible thread. "What is this?" Syla's smile was faint, her golden eyes glowing. "A mind bridge. You're part of me now." He squeezed her hand, knowing this bond changed everything. Harlan's shadow loomed, but Caleb's human grit burned brighter. He'd fight the whole damn galaxy to keep her safe. Trapped in the warehouse, the air thick with oil, Caleb and Syla faced Harlan's icy stare. His silver hair glinted under moonlight, his black armored mercs fanning out, plasma rifles trained. "Surrender, Caleb," Harlan purred, raising a blinking control device. "One pulse of this neural wave, and you're both done." Caleb felt Syla's pulse through her emerald skin, warm but trembling. He glanced at her, eyes narrowing. Syla, what can you do with that photon trick? Her voice was faint but resolute. I can unleash a pulse, but it'll wipe me out. Caleb nodded, gripping the P7. Do it. I'll stall. He stepped forward, gun raised, locking eyes with Harlan. You want her weapon? You'll have to go through me. Harlan's sneer widened, finger poised over the device. You're a fool, Turner. Always were. But before he could press it, Syla thrust both hands forward. A dome of green light erupted, a supernova that sent the Merc's rifles clattering and knocked Harlan to the ground, his device skidding away. Syla crumpled, her glow snuffed out, breath shallow. Caleb dove to her, heart pounding. Syla, you okay? He rasped, cradling her. She nodded weakly, golden eyes flickering. He glanced around, Mercs down, Harlan out, but time was short. Scooping her up, he sprinted through the back exit, his boots slipping on red dirt. A civilian ship waited nearby, hatch open like a lifeline. He climbed in, easing Syla into a seat, and slammed the emergency lock. The engines roared, lifting them into Zephyr 9's night. In the cramped cockpit, the console's glow lit Syla's face as she stirred. Caleb, she whispered, voice trembling. The photon pulse, it bonded with you. I feel your emotions. Caleb froze, a warm thread weaving through his mind, like her heart beat alongside his. What's that mean? He asked, voice low. Syla's faint smile lit the dark, her emerald skin flickering. In Klyvar culture, photon energy can forge a mind bridge. You're part of me now. Caleb took her hand, her warmth grounding him. Mind bridge, huh? He said, half smirking to Mastio. Sounds like I just signed a long-term lease. Syla's laugh, soft as silver bells, eased the cockpit's tension. No escaping now, she teased, her golden eyes shining. Caleb felt the bond, stronger than any oath, but Harlan's threat lingered. That bastard would come back, and with a fleet. The ship glided through dark alleys, moonlight fading behind. Caleb scanned the radar, fingers deft on the controls. We need a hideout, he said, voice grim. Syla, still shaky, touched the console. There's an abandoned space station at Zephyr's edge, she said. I know the coordinates. Caleb punched them in, the ship veering toward the stars. He glanced at Syla, her strength shining through exhaustion. You're tougher than you look, he said, his half-smirk back. Syla met his gaze, her glow pulsing. Only with you here. Silence fell, broken only by the engine's hum. Caleb felt the mind bridge, a warm pulse tying their souls. It was unlike anything from his days dodging lasers in dogfights. He squeezed her hand, knowing this bond was worth fighting for. The ship soared into the void, toward the station, but Caleb knew Harlan's shadow wasn't far behind. Humanity might be the galaxy's underdog, but Caleb Turner was built for long odds, and he'd prove it. The civilian ship touched down on an abandoned space station at Zephyr's edge, its rusted corridors echoing with the howl of cosmic winds. Caleb checked the ship's systems, hands dancing over broken consoles to keep it running. Syla sat beside him, analyzing Harlan's spy device, her golden eyes focused, her emerald skin flickering. Anything? Caleb asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Syla bit her lip, fingers flying across the screen. A hidden data cache, she said, voice taut. I wasn't just an engineer. I'm the last of Klyvar's royal line, carrying DNA codes to activate a lost photon superweapon. Caleb froze, like he'd taken a hit to the chest. Syla, why didn't you tell me? He asked, voice low, eyes locked on hers. She looked down, her black hair veiling her face. I was scared, she whispered. If anyone knew, I'd never be free. Caleb stepped closer, resting a hand on her shoulder. You're not alone anymore, he said, voice steady. We'll figure this out. Syla looked up, eyes shimmering with unshed tears, but she nodded, her glow brightening. They worked in silence, the station's creaking metal a grim soundtrack. Caleb patched an auxiliary engine while Syla dug through the data. A sudden blip lit the radar, and Syla gasped. Ships! Caleb lunged to the screen, heart racing. An Alliance fleet materialized, warships glinting like predators circling prey. A video feed crackled, and Harlan's face appeared, his sneer chilling. "Syla," he purred. "Activate the weapon, or I obliterate this station." Caleb felt Syla's fear through the mind bridge, a cold spike in his chest, but her resolve burned hotter, like a star refusing to die. "We could destroy the data," he suggested, voice low. Syla shook her head, her glow pulsing. "It's in my DNA. Only my death stops them." Caleb gripped her shoulders, eyes blazing. "Nobody's dying today," he said, voice iron. "We'll take him down." His pilot's mind raced, plotting like he was back in a cockpit. "If we fake a surrender, we can infiltrate Harlan's command ship, sabotage it from within." Syla's eyes widened. "That's insane," she said, but the mind bridge carried her trust, warm and steady. "Insane's my specialty," Caleb said, his half-smirk flashing. "You in?" Syla nodded, her glow flaring, ready for war. They prepped fast. Caleb checked the P7, slipping a stun grenade into his belt. Syla activated a small Klyvar device, a photon amplifier, to boost her power. "If we fail," she said, voice trembling, "promise you'll destroy the station." Caleb met her gaze, the mind bridge blazing. "We don't fail," he said, taking her hand. "Together, we're unstoppable." They broadcast a surrender signal, and an Alliance shuttle docked at the station. Black armored troops escorted them, rifles trained, but Caleb stayed calm, eyes scanning every detail. Syla walked beside him, her glow dimmed to hide her strength. The shuttle ferried them to Harlan's command ship, a massive space fortress with gleaming corridors and tactical screens. Harlan awaited in the control room, his sneer unwavering. "Welcome," he said, arms crossed. "Syla, activate the weapon or I carve it from your blood." Caleb felt Syla's anger through the mind bridge, a fire matching his own. He winked at her, a silent signal. "He loves to talk," he sent through the bond, their minds linked like a secret channel. Syla nodded, her glow flickering. Caleb stepped forward, voice cool. "Harlan, you need her alive." "Me? I don't need you." Harlan laughed, but Caleb had already spotted the ship's weakness, a photon reactor, ripe for overload. One chance, and Syla was the key. The mind bridge burned bright, their plan set. Humanity might be the galaxy's wildcard, but Caleb Turner played to win, and he'd burn Harlan's empire to ash to save her. Aboard Harlan's command ship, Caleb and Syla stood in the gleaming control room, surrounded by Alliance troops, their rifles trained. Harlan loomed, his silver hair catching the sterile light, his sneer sharp as a blade. "Syla," he purred, "activate the photon weapon, or we carve it from your blood." Caleb felt Syla's anger through the spirit bridge, a fiery pulse in his mind, but he shot her a subtle wink, their plan unspoken. He loves to monologue, Caleb thought, the bridge carrying his words to her. Syla's skin flickered, a faint green glow signaling her readiness. Caleb stepped forward, his voice steady, masking his racing heart. "Harlan, you need her alive." "Me? I'm expendable, but I'm not cheap." His eyes flicked to the photon reactor's control panel behind Harlan, its humming core vulnerable to overload. Harlan laughed, oblivious. "You're nothing, Turner. A traitor who'll die forgotten." But Caleb had already mapped the room, 2 exits, 5 troops, and a reactor ripe for sabotage. He needed Syla's photon pulse to spark it. Syla caught his thought through the bridge, her golden eyes narrowing. "No," she whispered, her voice a thread in his mind. She raised her hands, and a green starburst erupted, blinding the troops. Caleb dove for the reactor controls, slamming overrides with pilot precision. Alarms blared as the core surged, red lights flashing. "Get out!" he shouted, grabbing Syla's arm. They sprinted for an exit, plasma bolts scorching the air. Syla unleashed another pulse, weaker but enough to scatter their pursuers. The ship shuddered, the reactors hummed, turning to a scream. They reached an escape pod bay, Caleb shoving Syla inside a pod. "Go!" he roared, but she grabbed his wrist, her skin blazing. Not without you! The spirit bridge burned, their resolve won. He climbed in, sealing the hatch as the pod launched, the command ship erupting behind them in a cosmic fireball. Debris scattered like stars, the blast's light blinding. Caleb held Syla, checking her pulse, weak but steady. He glanced at the pod's radar, heart sinking as a faint signal blinked at the edge. Another escape pod? He muttered, the blast's glow obscuring details. A chill ran through him. Harlan doesn't die easy, he said, voice grim, but he turned to Syla, fire in his eyes. We'll be ready if he comes back. The pod drifted toward a desolate planet, its purple sands glowing faintly, a new battlefield awaiting. The escape pod crashed onto the desolate planet, purple sands swallowing its hull. Caleb dragged Syla from the wreckage, her skin dim, her breath shallow from the photon pulses. The air was thick with ozone, twin moons casting eerie light over crystalline dunes. He carried her to a cave glittering with photon-infused crystals, their glow like tiny stars. Setting her down, he checked the pod's salvage supplies, a medkit, a signal jammer, and the P7, still charged. Hang in there, he whispered, bandaging her arm, his hand steady despite his racing pulse. Syla stirred, her golden eyes flickering open. Caleb, she murmured, the spirit bridge, it's stronger now. He felt it too, a warm thread linking their minds, her emotions, fear, hope, trust, flowing into him. What does it mean? He asked, his voice low. Syla's smile was faint but radiant. It's rare, even among Klyvars. We're bound, soul to soul. Caleb's half-smirk flickered. Guess I'm stuck with you, then. Her laugh, soft as starlight, eased the cave's tension. They spent hours in the cave, Caleb rigging the signal jammer to hide their location. Syla, regaining strength, analyzed a salvaged Klyvar device, its screen flickering with ancient data. This planet was a Klyvar outpost, she said, her voice steadying. There's a hidden archive here, with records of the photon weapon. Caleb's eyes narrowed. Can we destroy it? Syla shook her head, her hair glinting. It's tied to my DNA. But we can use the archive to find allies, other Klyvars who fled the war. Caleb nodded, his pilot's mind calculating. Then we move at dawn. Harlan's out there, and he's not done. Syla grabbed his hand, her warmth grounding him. Why fight for me? She asked, her golden eyes searching. Caleb's smirk faded, his voice raw. Because you're worth it. And because humans don't quit when the stakes are this high. The spirit bridge flared, her gratitude a warm pulse. She leaned closer, her mint-like breath brushing his face. In my world, she whispered, a bond like ours is eternal. Caleb's heart raced, but he kept his cool. Good. Eternity's a long time to kick Harlan's ass. They rested, the cave's crystals pulsing like a heartbeat. Caleb felt the bridge, Syla's presence a steady flame in his mind. He knew the fight was far from over, but with her beside him, he felt unstoppable. Humans didn't just survive, they rewrote the odds, and he'd prove it, no matter what the galaxy threw at them. The cave's crystal glow bathed Caleb and Syla, the air humming with faint energy. Caleb sat by a salvaged console, hands smeared with oil, his gray t-shirt stained with purple dust. He checked the radar for the 10th time, eyes narrowed, searching the void for any sign. Still nothing. He muttered, voice low, but his gaze stayed glued to the screen. Syla sat nearby, her emerald skin flickering weakly, fingers working a Klyvar device to crack old signals from her people. They're out there, she said, her voice soft, like she was convincing herself. Through the spirit bridge, Caleb felt her hope laced with fear, a fragile flame in the dark. Then a sharp beep pierced the silence, the radar flaring. Caleb snapped upright, heart pounding. Signal, he said, fingers flying to activate the comms. A hollow image flickered, revealing a Klyvar woman with deep green skin, silver eyes glinting like stars. I am Vera, she said, her voice resonant. We've tracked your signal, Syla, last of the royal line. Syla's breath caught, her skin blazing. Vera, she whispered. You survived. Vera's gaze shifted to Caleb, assessing. A human ally? Caleb flashed his half-smirk. Caleb Turner, ex-pilot, current pain in the Alliance's ass. Vera's lips twitched, a rare Klyvar smile. Bold. We need that. The Alliance hunts us, led by a human, Harlan. Caleb's blood ran cold. Harlan, alive, just as he'd feared. He escaped the command ship, he said, voice grim. Vera nodded. He commands a new fleet, seeking the Photon weapon. Join us, Syla. We're rebuilding Klyvar's resistance. Syla glanced at Caleb, the bridge pulsing with her resolve. We're in, she said, her voice firm. Vera sent coordinates for a hidden asteroid base, and the hollow faded. Caleb and Syla prepped to leave, salvaging the pod's remaining gear. But a low hum echoed outside, growing to a roar. Caleb grabbed the P-7, peering through the cave's entrance. An Alliance scout ship landed, its ramp lowering. Harlan stepped out, his silver hair glinting, flanked by drones buzzing with plasma cannons. Turner! He bellowed, voice amplified. Surrender, Syla, or this planet burns! Caleb's jaw tightened, the spirit bridge flaring with Syla's defiance. He doesn't quit, Caleb muttered, turning to her. Got one more pulse in you. Syla's eyes gleamed, her skin glowing. For you? Always. Caleb rigged the cave's crystals with the signal jammer, creating a makeshift EMP. When I say hit it, he whispered. He stepped out, P-7 raised, facing Harlan. You're a long way from home, Caleb called, voice dripping with defiance. Harlan sneered. You're out of tricks, traitor. But Caleb's smirk widened. That's where you're wrong. He nodded to Syla, who unleashed a photon pulse, the crystals amplifying it into a blinding wave. The drones shorted out, sparking, and Harlan dove for cover. Caleb fired stun shots, pinning him down, then grabbed Syla, sprinting for the scout ship. They hijacked it, engines roaring as they launched, leaving Harlan cursing in the dust. The spirit bridge burned bright, their minds united. Humans didn't just fight, they turned the tables, and Caleb was just getting started. The stolen scout ship streaked through space, its engines humming as Caleb piloted toward Vera's coordinates. Syla sat beside him, her skin glowing faintly, her golden eyes scanning the stars. The spirit bridge pulsed, their emotions intertwined, her hope a beacon, his resolve a shield. Vera's resistance, Syla said, voice soft. They're Klyvars who escaped the Alliance's purge. If we join them, we can stop Harlan. Caleb nodded, his hands steady on the controls. Then we hit him where it hurts, his fleet, his weapon. His smirk flickered. Humans are good at breaking things. The asteroid base loomed, a jagged rock fortress cloaked in a photon shield, invisible to scanners. They docked, greeted by Vera and a dozen Klyvars, their skin shimmering in hues of green and blue. Vera's silver eyes studied Caleb, wary but curious. A human fighting for Klyvar, she said. Why? Caleb's gaze was steady. Because Syla's fight is mine. And because I hate tyrants like Harlan. Vera nodded, respect flickering in her eyes. Then you're welcome here. The base buzzed with activity, Klyvars forging photon weapons, repairing ships, planning strikes. Syla dove into the archive, her royal DNA unlocking ancient data on the Photon superweapon. It's not just a weapon, she said, her voice tense. It's a starkiller, capable of draining suns to power fleets, or destroy them. Caleb's jaw tightened. We can't let Harlan have it. Vera agreed, outlining a plan: infiltrate Harlan's new command ship, destroy the weapon's blueprint, and cripple his fleet. It's a suicide mission, she warned. Caleb's smirk returned. Good thing I'm bad at dying. He and Syla trained with the Klyvars, Caleb teaching human tactics, guerrilla strikes, misdirection, while Syla shared photon techniques. The spirit bridge deepened, their minds sinking in combat drills, moving as one. One night, in the base's glowing archive, Syla grabbed his hand, her skin warm. Caleb, she whispered, if we fail, promise you'll end this, even if it means me. Her golden eyes glistened, the bridge heavy with her fear. Caleb squeezed her hand, his voice raw. "We don't fail. We're in this together, forever." She smiled, leaning into him, their bond a fire no galaxy could extinguish. As they prepped for the mission, Caleb felt the weight of it, Harlan, the weapon, the lives at stake. But he felt Syla's presence, her strength fueling his. Humans didn't just endure, they defied fate, and with Syla by his side, Caleb would show the stars what defiance meant. The base's photon shield flickered, a reminder of the fight ahead, but Caleb was ready, his heart ablaze with purpose. Caleb and Syla led a strike team from the asteroid base, their stolen scout ship cloaked in a Klyvar photon shield, slipping through the void toward Harlan's new command fleet. The spirit bridge burned bright, their minds synced, Syla's resolve a blazing star, Caleb's defiance a steel core. Vera's voice crackled through the comms, her silver eyes sharp in the hollow feed. "Harlan's ship holds the photon weapon's blueprint," she said. "Destroy it, and we cripple his plan to dominate the galaxy." Caleb's smirk flickered. "Consider it scrapped." The fleet loomed, a constellation of warships glinting like predators. Caleb piloted with razor precision, weaving through plasma barrages, his human instincts outpacing the Alliance's automated defenses. Syla, at the co-pilot station, channeled photon energy into the ship's shields, her emerald skin glowing like a beacon. "Shields holding," she said, her voice steady despite the strain. Through the bridge, Caleb felt her focus, fueling his own. "Let's give Harlan a bad day," he said, diving toward the command ship. They boarded under cover of a photon pulse, Syla's light blinding the guards. Caleb led the charge, P7 firing stun shots, his team of Klyvars moving like a tide. The command ship's corridors gleamed, tactical screens flashing Alliance data. Harlan awaited in the central chamber, his silver hair stark against the dark, a photon amplifier strapped to his chest, stolen Klyvar tech. "You're too late," he sneered, raising a control device. "The weapon's blueprint is uploaded to every Alliance ship. Syla's DNA will activate it, or I'll burn her people to ash." Caleb felt Syla's fear through the bridge, but her golden eyes blazed with defiance. "You'll never control Klyvar," she said, her voice ablade. Caleb stepped forward, P7 aimed. "Harlan, you're a one-trick bastard," he said, voice cold. "And I'm done with your games." He nodded to Syla, their plan unspoken. She unleashed a photon surge, amplified by the chamber's crystals, overloading Harlan's device. Sparks flew, the amplifier exploding in a green flash. Harlan roared, lunging, but Caleb tackled him, pinning him down with a pilot's strength. "Stay down," he growled, cuffing him with Klyvar restraints. The team hacked the ship's core, erasing the blueprint data. Syla used her royal DNA to lock the system, ensuring no Alliance ship could access it. Alarms blared as the fleet scrambled, but Vera's resistance ships attacked, photon cannons blazing. Caleb and Syla fought their way to an escape shuttle, dragging Harlan as a prisoner. The command ship buckled, explosions rippling as they launched, the fleet fracturing under the Resistance's assault. In the shuttle's dim glow, Syla slumped, her skin flickering, drained. Caleb held her, the spirit bridge warm with her gratitude. "We did it," she whispered, her golden eyes gleaming. Caleb's half-smirk returned. "Told you we don't fail." The shuttle sped toward Klyvar, a planet reborn, while Harlan's curses echoed, powerless. Humans didn't just fight, they reshaped the stars, and Caleb had just carved his mark. Klyvar's photon field shimmered under a starlit sky, crystal towers rising from the ashes, glowing like eternal flames. Caleb stood on a shipyard platform, hands stained with oil, his gray t-shirt frayed but warm with pride. His eyes swept over new photon warships, their hulls glinting like stars, built with his pilot's expertise alongside Klyvar engineers. Syla, now a revered queen, moved among her people, her emerald skin radiant, leading ancient photon rituals to restore their spirit. Through the spirit bridge, Caleb felt her pride, laced with the weight of nights spent fearing the Alliance's return. A year had passed, and on a hill overlooking the photon fields, They stood hand in hand, the planet's light blending with the fire in their souls. The war wasn't over. Harlan, imprisoned, had allies plotting his release, and the Alliance licked its wounds, hungry for revenge. But Klyvar stood stronger, its resistance united, its photon shields unbreakable. Caleb trained pilots, teaching human dogfighting tactics, unpredictable, relentless, to counter Alliance precision. Syla revived the luminous whisper, a ritual where Klyvars linked photon energy under aligned moons, sending a light pillar skyward, a prayer for peace and a warning to foes. "We're ready," Syla said, her voice steady, her golden eyes fierce. Caleb squeezed her hand, his smirk softening. "Always are." One night, under Klyvar's twin moons, Syla led Caleb to a photon shrine, its crystals pulsing like heartbeats. "This bond," she said, touching his chest, "it's more than a bridge. It's love, Caleb, across species, across stars." Her skin glowed, her mint-like breath warm. Caleb's heart raced, the bridge ablaze with their shared fire. "Love, huh?" he said, his voice raw. "Guess humans and Klyvars aren't so different." He pulled her close, their kiss a spark that lit the shrine, the crystals flaring brighter. They returned to the hill, the photon fields stretching endless below. Caleb felt the weight of their fight, Harlan, the Alliance, the galaxy's chaos, but with Syla, he felt invincible. Humanity had a knack for defying fate, for building hope where none existed. He'd come to Zephyr 9 a drifter, but on Klyvar he'd found purpose, a home, a love that burned brighter than any star. The moons glowed, the fields sang, and Caleb knew, whatever came next, they'd face it together, their bond a beacon for a galaxy reborn. Humans didn't just survive, they lit the way, and Caleb's light would shine forever.